Welcome to the HR Happy Hour. It's time for your work break. You're here with Trish and Steve. Hey, Steve.
What's happening?
It's been a long day. We're calling this a work break, and it's 3:01.
Yeah.
3:01 Central. I got to tell you, after this, it's been a great day, but I am done. I am mentally.
Yeah, I feel like it ought to be Friday too, by the way. This week has been a little bit of a grind. Good in a lot of ways. We've been super busy. We got through our webinar with Ceridian. Folks have heard us talk about for at least 10 days or so. We killed it yesterday. I thought I'm going to pat ourselves on the back. So we got through that and took a little breath, but yeah, it keeps going. And you had some real fun stuff I know you were doing today.
I know I'm in casual clothes now, but yes, I got to be dressed up again today because today was my big day recording my session for HR Tech, which will be later this month. And I have to tell you, I did this I partnered with Paychex with Tom Hammond, and Tom and I did a session last year on Google. And the thing about Tom is, well, two things. Number one, I actually do love Paychex. I love the product. We've reviewed the product many times. We've been just really deep in the product.
Yeah.
So that's all good. But aside, I really like Tom. And when we did our presentation last year, we had just met. We hadn't known each other very long. And we just, in person, play off each other really well. So I think we were both a little bit nervous, like, how will this work on remote, right? Yeah. And so while we are not as animated as walking around the room like we did last year, I think people will, cross their fingers, like it. It was really fun. We kept it really casual, but our topic is employee self-service.
Okay.
And I think we'll have some interesting information for people. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Speaking of that, I've got to record, I guess probably next week, I've got to record my spots it's going to be weird. So I'm hosting the top HR products of the year session at HR Tech. And people have heard me talk about that for a while too on this show where, all the demos we saw. And so the selections have all been made. The announcement of the selections is not until next week. So I can't give any of that away, but next week I've got to record my intro and my transitions and all those spots in between where I come back on the stage and say, oh, thank you so much, Company A, that was great. Now let's welcome, Mary Smith from Company B. So I got to do all that, and so we're going to have to. We'll do that. We'll splice that all together along with the pre-recorded demos for that session. So super excited about it. But yeah, going to be weird to do it in a virtual setting, and because you won't know how it turns out until it all gets put together at the end. I probably won't. Maybe I'll get a chance to see it right before it goes live on the site. We'll see.
I think also too, I'm finding that not having the audience, the sort of the warmth or even the questioning looks or whatever, it's like you don't have that to draw on. I mean, I'm thinking at this point of either recruiting neighbors to come sit in my office when I record. I just need an audience, like of a couple people.
Yeah, I know what you mean. We were doing a webinar, and I've done a couple webinars, solo webinars this summer as well. And it's so tough to do this when you don't have that crowd in front of you, because I like to work the crowd a little bit. I feel like I'm a frustrated stand-up comic at heart, so I like to do the crowd work. So what I like to do, like when I need to take a break from the content, I'll say, let's say you're in the front row of my session, Trish. I might look at you and say, hey, what's your name?
Trish.
Oh, Trish, great. Good to see you. Where are you from?
I'm from St. Louis.
Ooh, St. Louis. I'll talk slower. It's the oldest, stupidest, comedic joke in the world, and it works every single time. People laugh. Oh. You can't do that on a webinar, really.
No, wait. The fact that I've heard you do that before, but yeah, when you just did it, I didn't remember it. I was like, oh, he's asking. You know what? The thing is, it is really difficult. It's hard enough to be in front of a camera anyway. Especially when you're trying to, literally, I'm walking around, lights, I can show you, I'm changing lights, I'm changing everything, so I'm trying to change around. And that's challenging for everyone. And then, like you said, doing a solo is actually, in some ways, it's easier because it is just you that you have to deal with, but there's no interaction. Mm-hmm. You and I think this kind of works for us, but only because we know each other well and we can kind of play off of each other.
Yeah, right. And we have had so many of these shows, but also the podcast and other things we've done over the years. We work together. So, we mentioned International Podcast Day yesterday, right, on the work break. And And I looked up a couple things, and I went back to our archive, and I thought about, just saying thanks and all that. And so I sent out a tweet from the Happy Hour account yesterday, but it's like if you take our show plus the network shows, that's like 500 shows. We're over 100 on this, right? Countless other times we've presented together, 72,000, calls we've had over the years just talking about stuff. So it works out fairly well. We can sort of go back and forth. But yeah, if it was when you're just doing even with a partner or doing the solo thing, no feedback, no reaction. And I've noticed too with the webinars, and our friends at Ceridian told us this as well. They've been doing webinars all summer. The interactivity seems to be going down on the webinars. You're getting fewer questions, and there was several hundred people on the webinar, but only a subset of them answered the polling questions. They didn't even do that, So I think there's the fatigue is setting in on some of these virtual deals.
It is, and I think you're right. You have to. I do think it's better to have at least two people speaking. I don't think you can just throw any two people together because the timing won't work. It'll be a little disjointed. So that's something to think about. But definitely, I will say this. I know Tom well enough today that it went well. It was the back and forth, and certainly not as much practice as you and I have had over the years, though. Do you think about this? For me, I think when I'm talking with Tom, we're more in agreement. I think you and I sometimes disagree, which keeps it interesting, though.
Yeah, I have noticed that from time to time.
Oh, man. Anyway, well, listen, I got a question for you.
Okay, go ahead, because then I had something I wanted to bring up, but you go first.
Mine will be quick because you asked me about what podcasts I listen to, and I said I listen to a lot of the NPR stuff. Well, I also read the NPR site, and I'd come across an article a while ago and forgot to mention it and wanted to get your take on it. So you're someone that goes to gyms, you work out. I work out, but I don't prefer gyms. Sun's out, guns out, baby. And I tend to work out more at the track or at the park or something like that. So there was a whole article on this kind of like undercover secret gym that are popping up around. Have you heard of this?
So I have not, but so you're talking about sort of
prohibition.
I was just about to say a speakeasy in prohibition, right? Is that what you're saying?
Speakeasy for gyms. Yeah, and I've
heard of this, but it's not surprising, right?
Fascinating?
People, look, lots of people love to go to the gym. I'm one of those people. I'm not so crazy about it. I have still not gone back to my gym. The gyms have reopened here where I live at I think maybe 30% capacity. I have not gone back. But I definitely can know there's lots and lots of people who are just dying to get back into their gyms. This, really hardcore. Or maybe they were training I'm just training to keep in shape, right? Yeah. Try to avoid aging, basically. But there are lots of people who are training for very serious endeavors, right? Races or competitions or bodybuilding. Maybe they're competing in that, or maybe it's for their health. That certain conditions, health reasons, it's really important for them to train. So I get it. I really do. So yeah, I hadn't heard of that, but it's not surprising to me, really, either.
Speakeasies that are now gyms. So and
people, I don't want to pick on them, but they're a little weird about this kind of thing. They're a little crazy.
Well, two comments. One is that I don't understand how gyms are not open in a lot of places when yet we have kids back at school. I have high schoolers. Both of them are in weights class. Both of them are working out in small groups now. I don't know. It's inconsistent.
I've had an observation about CrossFit. Again, if there are people CrossFitters listening to this, I'm not apologizing because I don't really care. So, but the first rule, CrossFit is like Fight Club. The movie Fight Club? Except it's like Fight Club, except if the first rule of Fight Club was the opposite of what the rule actually is.
Oh, to talk about it all the time?
Because the CrossFit people never stop talking about it. And they'll remind you every second. They're a little bit like vegans in that regard too. Shout out to the vegans out there.
I'll tell you what, I love people who do CrossFit. I am so envious. I wish I could. And I wish I could flip tires and do all the things. In a way, though, maybe I should just go on Facebook and start saying I'm doing it.
You just need to talk about it a lot, and you fit right into the community. Yeah.
I flipped 2 or 3 tires this morning.
I have one real quick one I want to mention before we wrap. I thought it was cool, and I did it on the Alexa show today, and I want to shout out the Alexa show, going strong. HR Happy Hour on Alexa. Add it to your Echo device a couple times a week. Glassdoor, our friends at Glassdoor, added a diversity and inclusion rating for companies. They're rolling that out. So much like you can rate your company, rate the CEO, now you can explicitly rate the company on their diversity and inclusion efforts, initiatives, kind of programs and actions, et cetera. So I think kind of interesting. I know there's kind of both sides of the fence on Glassdoor, particularly because of the anonymity of it. I've always been a fan only because I know how seriously most companies take it. They take the ratings and the CEO ratings. So I thought that was an interesting piece of news. It came to my inbox today. I did talk about it on the Alexa show. So yeah, check that out. Diversity and inclusion ratings of companies on Glassdoor starting to roll out. I thought that was interesting.
Great. Maybe we can get someone from Glassdoor to come on the regular podcast and talk about it, because I think you're right. I think people like to act like they don't give that credibility, but I can tell you what, every time I've ever either taken a job somewhere or even worked with a client, I do look and see what Glassdoor ratings say about that company and that CEO. And I think this is a good thing, more transparency around how we're handling diversity and inclusion and belonging and really making people feel comfortable and part of the company. So
yeah, I think it's a great idea. That's why I brought it up. And that's why I talked about it today.
Well, good stuff. Well, listen, if you're from Glassdoor, I know we've got some contacts there, but if anybody's listening, hit us up. Let's talk to you about your new initiative. It sounds great.
Yeah, if anybody's got one of those underground gyms anywhere near the Charlotte area, hit me up as well. I want to check that out.
I'm thinking I just had a great idea what I'm going to do here. Maybe I can recruit people locally to come to my house and work out kind of in an underground gym, right? Because I've got gym equipment downstairs, and I will just give my presentation while they're working out. They will be my audience, and
I'd say we've entered now stage 7 of pandemic-related craziness with that idea. But yes, let's go for it.
Okay. All right. Listen, thanks everyone, as always, for listening, watching, tweeting, messaging us, and we will see you back here tomorrow. Actually, wait, I will be on a flight. Steve will be back here tomorrow with a guest. I'll talk to you all tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.